Check this out. We got a story right here. Exclusive. Cops impound cars of homeless moms and kids. Cops evict unhoused folks from their cars. Unreal. Check it out.
Exclusive. The heartlessness of these cops who decided to evict mothers and their children from cars, impound the cars, and made them sleep outside. Let me take you to the
That's
first
fucked
video.
up.
Here it is.
The three of you. Who is in charge? Okay, so you're planning on putting this woman on foot, like with nowhere to live with her son and her dog. That's what you guys are planning on doing. Does that look like it's something that should be done? You guys feel like there's any humanity in this? You guys want to take this woman, like, it's like coming into winter, it's cold, and you want her to be on foot, like it doesn't matter? That is unacceptable, and absolutely unacceptable. I cannot believe you guys don't have the heart, like you must have some kind of heart.
Should she stay with you and your mother?
You must have some kind of heart.
So she can stay with you?
Well, I was supposed to...
we're actually helping each other in the community.
You're able to help her?
We're trying the best we can to help. You guys are destroying...
So she can stay with you tonight?
You guys are destroying. You're destroying people.
I was asking if he was...
You're destroying people.
Let's put up the picture of the family.
Let's do it. Ready?
Okay? San Diego police impounded the cars of two unhoused mothers and their two children on November 12th. It forced them to spend the night outside. And they knew that's exactly what would happen if they impounded these vehicles.
Yep.
The mother, Lisa, and June did find temporary accommodation following the YouTube post about their eviction. A neighbor caught the incident where June is packing what belongings she can carry.
You know, and sometimes I think, it's like you get cops out there thinking they got nothing to do, so they're going to harass somebody because they look suspicious or doing suspicious activity, or they're going around harassing the homeless. I mean, there are many homeless people out there. They don't have a choice but to live in the streets, to live in a tent, in a car, in a mobile home, or finding any ways to shelter around there. I mean, it's bad enough out there, especially in a lot of places that are cold this time of year. I mean, look at right now. It's 6:04 in the morning. It's 27 degrees outside right now. You think somebody's gonna be out there wanting to live in the cold right now? No. I mean, even San Diego still gets cold this time of year. I mean, I heard temperature definitely get down in the 40s this time of year. I'm thinking, Mama, it's ridiculous. Don't these cops got better shit to do? Like to go catch a race suspect, or somebody who's stealing and praying cars, stealing catalytic converters, or robbing weed stores, or trying to jack money from convenience or banks. Don't they got better shit to do than to harass people on the streets, or people who are trying to get by when they're homeless? They don't have a choice these days.
Citizen journalist Carol Meeks then interviewed the families about the incident. Here's some of that.
Here we go.
We're telling you right now, we don't care how far out of date, we don't care how much, what steps you've taken. They just...
So did you tell them that by them towing your vehicles that your children were going to be out on the street and in the elements?
Yes, we did.
They cut us off and turned their heads.
Yep.
They didn't care.
And just kept on doing their job. And of course, it took forever for the sergeant to get there. And then, basically he stood his ground and he says, well, you knew this was driving is a privilege, not a right, and I'm sorry, but I disagree with that because I have a disabled child. That is my vehicle to transport my
child. I hear coughing right now.
Yeah.
Which was probably made worse by having to sleep in a tent last night.
Definitely. It was freezing. I mean, the ground was, and all of our belongings got wet, so we're in the tent. and they're wet and it's already cold and we're freezing.
So you slept here in a tent last night, you and your children?
My son and I slept in the tent and they slept outside.
I'm going to say this. If they don't get you a room for tonight, I'm going to try and find and pay for a room for you tonight.
Thank you.
Because this is just ridiculous. And you know, all the city council people who just ran and got elected, maybe should be a priority, finding housing for single moms and their children who city officials are forcing onto the streets in cold weather at night.
We were able to talk directly with Carol Meeks, who documented this and provided humanity where humanity was not. And Carol says, and I quote, San Diego city officials had some pretty screwed up priorities when they quit making money by impounding poor folks' vehicles to generate fines and eventually sell them. So that's the scheme. They sell the cars when the person can't pay it. When people could not afford to reclaim them, over the safety of the children, they put into the streets to sleep.
Well, it's just like a society of law. You know, the cops pray, you know, and they home and pray on poor people, especially knowing that poor people can't get a good lawyer-in-law, or they can't pay their bail, or they can't pay the fine, so they home on them. So that way, or especially people that don't know anything about the law, like they don't know their rights. I mean, cops can single out people like that as well. I mean, it's really fucked up. It really is.
The mothers told Meeks they could not afford the back penalties and fees for registration on their vehicles amounting to more than $1,000 each. They expected to lose their vehicles to the city, which once again is part of the scheme.
Yep, there we go.
San Diego's Regional Task Force on Homelessness estimates about 8,500 people are unhoused in that county. More than 12,000 households had at least one member experiencing homelessness last year. Before I go on deeper, let me remind everyone, especially to the mothers, don't let them make you believe what you are experiencing is a personal failure. It's a policy failure. This is an inappropriate response to the least of these. And I'm sure you have paid your fair share of taxes, both of you.
Exactly.
And I am sorry that you're in the situation you're in.
You know, and that's the thing about life these days. I mean, I'm sure at one time they probably had great jobs, had a nice house, had lots of wonderful things. I'm sure those kids probably had like Xboxes or PlayStations, nice things like that. But sometimes life hands them a curveball, or they get a shitty hand, like getting a crappy hand in poker. Yeah. Well, they're dealt with a crappy hand in society, and they can't. How can you play high card like ace jack and somebody else got straight? How can you play that? You can't.
Tough times happen.
Yeah, exactly.
But those who are put in authority to provide solutions should not make it worse. And that's what they did. The city commented on the police and their decision to take the vehicles. Here's the comment. The registered owners of the vehicle or vehicles have previously received warnings and citations, as well as information for the city's safe parking program. The officers also contacted SDPD's homeless outreach team, who responded to offer additional services to the owners. SDPD is tasked with enforcing vehicle code violations, regardless of housing status, for expired registrations, outstanding parking tickets, oversized vehicles, recreational vehicles, attached, unattached trailers, registration-related violations, or parking during unauthorized hours, among others.
What does that tell you? What does that tell you? They don't care about your right. They don't care about you.
To execute policies like this.
It's all about the money and the quota. That's all they care about.
That's not fair.
Exactly. It's not fair.
That's not good. It's not good policy. It's bad.
It's real bad.
If your policy lacks humanity, think about the irony of that. Who wrote the policy? Humans did. We did. And the policy is contrary to the very nature of our being. Does that make sense to you? There's a GoFundMe for the two mothers. I want to put it up. Let's help them as much as we can. Help these babies as much as we can. The GoFundMe page, Two Moms and Children Homeless and Abandoned for the women. It was set up this week and has raised more than $12,000. You can provide assistance as well. We're back to a real challenge, right? I just read the stats to you. The homelessness issue or unhoused dynamic in that county is extreme. What has the government done to remedy it? Well, not much. And when they are faced with an opportunity to fix or perhaps provide grace, they do not. Places like the city of Atlanta, they passed laws that prohibited cops from arresting for what's called a crime of survival. Meaning if a person is homeless and they're asleep, if they're unhoused, unsheltered, and they're asleep on private property, that's technically criminal trespass.
You know, the same thing here in the
Well,
Seattle
Atlanta
area
police, they're
too.
told
Cops
you can't
can't
arrest them.
arrest somebody.
That's a crime
They're
of
asleep in their
survival.
car or
Here are
motorhome.
the other things
And,
you can do.
You know, they can't arrest somebody
Instead
in
of arresting
survival.
them,
They can
we
ask
fought
them
for
to
that
move,
legislation for
but they
years
can't
in the state of
arrest them,
Atlanta,
or they can't
and
impound
other
their
cities
vehicles.
have done so. This one,
The only way
obviously
they can
not.
do it is to refuse.
But at least one provides a remedy while the other makes the problem worse. Jordan, thoughts here?
Like you say, there's no humanity in these statutes. They have this rigid application that only is going to negatively affect people who are in unstable housing situations. And when the penalty is a fine, basically just means you can do whatever you want if you're wealthy. So you can see how this plays out in all of these different areas, all these civil statutes. So I feel really bad for these parents. And the cop also, what's his deal? Saying, oh, are you going to take him in? Like, that's the solution. The solution should not be some bystander filming it because they feel bad for these people to take them in. That's not a solution to the problem. This problem is systemic. The solution is a system where everyone can thrive. Everyone makes a living wage or has enough to provide, for themselves and their family and afford the cost of rent, which is growing rapidly. Across the country, we've seen rents skyrocket in some year over year at like double-digit percents and sometimes even higher. In major cities, it's been like sometimes 20 and 30%. We've seen where housing prices are extremely high. Even just having a stable place to live is becoming increasingly out of reach, especially for people in the working class. So I feel bad for this family or this group of people. I wish them the best. And also, again, it illustrates how cops in practice aren't really there to protect and serve. They're just there to serve the interests of capital.
Yeah, and once again, this was all...
And I think it's funny that some people some people go around and say, well, why don't this mom just get a job? I've heard some statistics of some people having jobs and they still can't afford rent. They can barely afford food. Rent is skyrocketing. There's places that, just basic rent's like $1,500, $1,600, $2,000 for rent. Food is going through the roof. Groceries, just for getting basic needs probably cost $150, $200. Just for a run at the grocery like Walmart or even Fred Meyer. I think it's expensive. Gas is expensive now. Cost of utilities, water, heat, lights are through the roof. There are people out there who do work but can't afford the rent or the utilities, can barely afford food. So that's the only the remedies you can have, like living like a motorhome or a tent or like that. Before we get out of here, I think some of us, remember, if you know about Eric Brandt, I remember a couple years ago, there was Denver's getting their first snowstorm, cold season as well. I think it was like 3, maybe 4 years ago time. Probably about this time, about years ago. Cops were doing a sweep around downtown Denver and adjacent area, taking away the homeless people's tents or blankets, whatnot. And I remember Eric Brandt made a huge headway about that. See, and that's the case, these cops were taking away homeless people's, their necessity to sleep, to keep warm, taking away their blankets. That's how it is. Cops don't care. They don't care about the people on the street. All they do is say, oh, we're trying to do a job. No, you're trying to do your job that suits the best for your needs, not the public, not the community. With that said, I'm out here, Mike Joe. Peace out.